Thought is the seed within the mind. Thinking is what develops it. But steadfastness is what allows thinking to remain with it long enough for unfolding to complete. This is the 7-minute daily focus, day 94 of 365, to focus on the world within from the world without. Today's focus, the law of thinking, steadfastness of thinking. Pause for a moment. Steadfastness is not intensity. Steadfastness is not force. And steadfastness is not holding on tightly out of fear that something may be lost. Steadfastness is calm. It is the quiet ability to remain with what is within, without being moved by what is physically seen. Thought is the seed within the mind. Thinking is what develops it. But steadfastness is what allows thinking to remain with it long enough for unfolding to complete. So steadfastness is not an addition. It is the condition that protects continuity. Pause. Thought is within, effect is without, and thinking stands between. Steadfastness belongs to thinking. It is the refusal to move away from what is within, and it is the decision to remain aligned even when what is physically seen does not yet reflect it. So steadfastness is not waiting. It is remaining with certainty, remaining with recognition, and remaining with origin. Thinking determines outcome, but steadfastness determines whether thinking continues. Active thinking is steadfast. It remains with what is within. Passive thinking is unstable. It shifts with appearance. So steadfastness is not something you try to apply occasionally. Steadfastness is the nature of thinking that is aware of itself. When you are aware of your thinking, you remain with it. When you remain with it, you become steadfast. And when you are steadfast, continuity is preserved. Recognition must remain within, because steadfastness begins with recognition. If recognition shifts to what is physically seen, steadfastness weakens. And if recognition remains within, steadfastness strengthens. So steadfastness is not effort. It is alignment maintained. If thinking is not steadfast, interruption follows. Small shifts become delays. Small reactions become unstable. And small doubts become division. But when thinking is steadfast, something stabilizes. You are no longer moved by every appearance. You are no longer reacting to every condition. And you are no longer dividing your thinking. You remain. And remaining allows unfolding. Unfolding, physical expression. This is where steadfastness becomes power. Not through force, not through pressure, and not through control, but through consistency. A steady, unmoved, continuous alignment with what is within. Remain aligned with what is within. Do not be moved by what is physically seen, because what is physically seen is always secondary, and what is within is always primary. Steadfastness is the refusal to exchange the primary for the secondary. Thinking requires position, and steadfastness maintains that position, not once, not occasionally, but continuously. To be steadfast is to remain with what is within, regardless of what appears. This is patience, not waiting in uncertainty, but remaining in certainty. You are not trying to become steadfast. You are recognizing that steadfastness is already present when you remain aligned. So today, remain with what is within, remain with recognition, and remain with origin. Because each moment of remaining strengthens continuity, and each moment of continuity allows unfolding, and what unfolds must physically express. Consider this more deeply. Steadfastness is often misunderstood as something that requires effort to maintain, as though you must hold something in place, as though you must resist what is happening around you. But true steadfastness does not resist. It does not fight what is physically seen. It does not struggle against changing conditions. It simply does not move. And this is a very different kind of strength, because resistance still gives attention to what is physically seen. Resistance still reacts. Resistance is still connected to appearance. But steadfastness is independent. It remains with what is within, regardless of what appears. So the strength of steadfastness is not in what it does. It is in what it refuses to do. It refuses to follow reaction. It refuses to shift with appearance, and it refuses to abandon what has been recognized within. And in that refusal, continuity is protected. This is why steadfastness is quiet. It does not need to announce itself. It does not need to prove itself. And it does not need validation from what is physically seen. It simply remains. And in remaining, it allows what is within to unfold without interruption. So if you observe carefully, you will notice something. Instability is always movement, a movement toward doubt, a movement toward reaction, and a movement toward what is physically seen. But steadfastness is stillness, not inactivity, but inner stillness. A thinking that is not pulled in different directions, and a thinking that does not divide itself between within and without. A thinking that stays with origin. This is why steadfastness produces clarity. Because when thinking is not moving in different directions, it becomes unified. And when it becomes unified, continuity strengthens. And when continuity strengthens, unfolding becomes uninterrupted. So throughout your day, notice the movement. Notice when thinking begins to shift. Notice when attention begins to follow appearance. And notice when reaction begins to form. And instead of resisting it, remain. Remain with what is within. Remain with recognition. And remain with origin. Because each moment you remain, you stabilize thinking. And each moment thinking is stabilized, continuity is protected. And each moment continuity is protected, unfolding continues. So steadfastness is not something you build in large moments. It is built in small, repeated moments of remaining. Moments where you could move, but you do not. Moments where you could react, but you remain. And moments where appearance invites you outward, but you stay within. These moments are quiet, but they are powerful because they accumulate. And over time, they form a thinking that is no longer easily moved, a thinking that is steady, a thinking that is continuous, and a thinking that allows what is within to fully unfold. And when that happens, something becomes evident. You are no longer trying to maintain steadfastness. You are living it, because remaining has become natural, because alignment has become continuous, and because thinking has become unified. And in that unity, there is no division. And where there is no division, there is no interruption. And where there is no interruption, unfolding completes its course. And what unfolds must physically express. Now, the affirmation for day 94. Pause for a moment. I remain steadfast. I remain with what is within. I do not move with what is physically seen. I remain aligned. I remain steady. And I remain continuous. And because I remain, unfolding continues. And what unfolds must physically express. Remember, by design, by focus.